I'm Mason Mount. You're listening to the London is Blue podcast.
All right, moving on to the sexy French forehead, the meaty French forehead. Don't let the coiffed hair and the immaculately trimmed beard fool you. Dude grinds and does the dirty work, and his goal was amazing. Starts off with a great little finesse touch past Rui Patricio, and then absolutely just mugs off Cody, makes him look silly. Runs around him. I think he did a full circle around him and then finished it with his favored left foot. Opta Joe, stealing this one, Dan. 33. At the age of 33, Olivier Giroud has become the oldest player to score in 5 consecutive Premier League starts, taking over from Jamie Vardy, who did it as a 32-year-old. Zest. Dan, does Olivier Giroud look like a 33-year-old to you?
No,
Play like a 33-year-old? Like, I'm surprised. I honestly thought he was like 31.
So there's a couple things on that goal. One, Christian being able to keep himself upright as Neves comes in from behind and tries to take him down, get the ball off to Mason. Mason with the back heel forward pass to set Giroud in motion. And then Cody deciding to try to play Giroud versus playing the ball and knocking it out. A lot of bad decisions in that whole stretch of action. But the one great decision was Giroud just continuing to go with it and somehow having more acceleration than a couple other players, which is not typically what happens for him, Nick, and ends up with 8 starts since restart, 7 goals, and just like Mason, help us get over the line at the end of the season here and help secure Champions League football. The only thing I have just left to say is thank you, Arsenal.
Thank you, Arsenal. I as an admirer of Olivier Giroud and thinking back to the beginning of the season when I thought he was going to be our starting striker all year, which clearly did not come to fruition.
Half the year's not bad.
Another tremendous prediction on my part. That's why I don't do these types of shows anymore. I should just get out of the prediction business altogether. He's done everything. I mean, and this goal was so scrappy, and it was just he wanted it more goal. I mean, that was it. You saw the effort that went into it. It's one of my favorite goals of the restart because at a time where I think motivations and effort, were never in question, it's like turning it up to 11, for him. And again, to come back after not playing for the first half of the year, and to do what he's done for Chelsea Football Club, like we would not be in the Champions League next year without Olivier Giroud, full stop. Before the restart or after. I mean, he has been that good. He's been that reliable. He's the best target forward in world football for my money, in what he is able to do with holding up the ball and distributing it out. He has an incredible touch. He is not the skillless donkey that a lot of Twitter users would have you think. He has a tremendous amount of flair and skill. It's just he doesn't always get to use it because he's backing people down like an NBA rebounder. I mean, he's that good. And I think Frank, definitely has shown appreciation. We're going to get to his quote in a second, but this is one that we've said over and over. Frank got a little bit wrong. And then rectified it, and I think now is over the moon in my eyes that he has Giroud on the team.
Yeah, I mean, so with Olivier Giroud, he has a very distinct play style, which, again, you kind of have to adapt the team to him. You can't expect him to play in a very fluid front 3, and you can't really expect him to overlap and get around. But he's always in a dangerous position, and he can bring other people in. So I've been listening. Shout out to Dan Sills if you're listening. He recommended during the Chelsea draft a Footballer's Guide to Football, and it's with Marlon Harewood and I can picture him. He played at Chelsea and West Ham. He's a striker, Carlton Cole, and they interviewed Emil Heskey, a phenomenal center forward, and he scored over 100 Premier League goals. And he talked about people, yes, as a center forward, especially you think of like Michail Antonio for West Ham. If you're up there by yourself because your team is defending a lot, you're not there to score goals. You're there to collect the ball, let the team transition with you, and then go. Olivier Giroud can hold the ball. He can keep the ball moving. He can bring in other players, and he can score with his feet, with his head, and multiple different ways. He's a very dynamic striker. Obviously, he's not pacey, and I wouldn't say he's overly two-footed, but he creates opportunities when he's there, and he's so experienced that he knows what needs to happen in tight games and things like that. So just overall, I think that, look, for us to have Olivier Giroud and to have him for another season is phenomenal. I think he has been a massive revelation for this season. I know Timo Werner's coming in, but for Giroud, you have to go, look, he's way different than I am. So in certain situations, there's a good chance that like you're still going to need a Giroud type, almost battering ram to knock down those block eights and things like that too. So it's really just an appreciation of Olivier Giroud and what he's done. And also for him to have 1.5 feet out the door for January and to just slot in like an absolute professional and just get involved and act like he hadn't been frozen out for 5 months, which, trust me, as a professional, that matters. That hurts. And he's just been phenomenal. And so I could see him winning some type of like players award this season. And deservedly so. So again, just a huge amount of the praise is there, but it's just appreciation for Olivier Giroud. I mean, because he's one of the most selfless people ever. And you think of strikers, they're not really the selfless kind, right? You think Tammy could have passed in Pedro for a great little way to put a bow on that? Nah, he's shooting because he's a striker. So, credit to Giroud. I'm going to pass to you, actually, Nick, to do the Lampard comments because I just went on a huge little run on Olivier. So
Lampard on Olivier Giroud. Really pleased. Ollie has to take all the credit from January onwards. He wasn't playing a lot. Tammy played a lot. I was never unaware, which is an interesting way of saying aware, of all his talents. But that was just the circumstance of the time. Credits to his personality to deal with what he's dealt with. And there was also in a lengthened quote here that essentially said, we can talk about his personality and what he brings to training, but that would be a disservice to his actual production, which was tremendous. And I think, people get caught up in Olivier's other qualities besides scoring the ball because he does a lot of things well, and he's obviously a consummate professional, a good teammate, all that stuff. The production matches the other stuff now. And, for a team that will have 1.5 billion matches next season in a even shortened calendar, there's going to be plenty of game time to go around.
Well, when you think about the fact that Giroud basically wasn't playing for the vast majority of the season and still ended up with 8 Premier League goals, was the 4th highest goal scorer for Chelsea behind Tammy at 15 in the Premier League, Willian and Pulisic at 9. That's damn impressive, and a credit to him continuing to fight, to continue to believe in himself. And I think that's exactly what Frank was trying to call out in his post-match press conference, because you're right. Ultimately, to just talk about the intangibles of Giroud and not talk about the fact that he actually can bang in some goals too, and some pretty good ones, like the mobility to continue going after that goal today, and then as it's going to the ground, basically make sure it gets, bypassed in by Cody, is just fantastic. So all credit to Giroud. I'm looking forward to how he contributes in the remaining part of this season, because we still have an FA Cup left, and I'm sure he would love to take another trophy away from Arsenal's hands, and I'm all there for it. Just inject it.
Usually, Chelsea been sending players to Arsenal. I think I should go back and re-investigate or reread the whole circumstances of Olivier Giroud coming to Chelsea. What an probably at the time undervalued signing and just coup. I think he probably came around the same time Willie did as well, right? And so we're getting a couple old players just to round out the roster.
Well, that was the whole domino, right? Because if they couldn't get Giroud off. They couldn't go get Aubameyang. So Aubameyang was coming from Dortmund. And so it actually, in a lot of ways, Arsenal has benefited from Aubameyang going to collect personal honors while they have actually not collected anything from a club perspective. We have benefited from getting someone who comes to our club and has actually helped us win trophies. So you know what? It's technically a win-win because Arsenal fans just love to talk about stats and enjoying other things relative to actual success. So, smiles and happy times all around.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can only wait for the little soundbite clip we get from the back of the bus if Chelsea win the FA Cup this time around. I mean, he's only going to continue to burn that bridge and embolden his cult hero status as a Chelsea player. So